All right, diving right in today, huh? We're tackling some shakeups in the U.S. federal government. Lots of firings lately, lots of buzz. We've got a stack of news articles, internal memos, the whole nine yards. Pretty dense stuff.
It is, yeah. But it's not just about people losing jobs. This is the Trump administration really putting their stamp on things. They want a smaller government,
Hmm.
like a lot smaller.
Mm.
And all this, it's them actually doing it.
So let's back up a bit. They started with those buyouts, right? Offering folks 8 months of pay and benefits to just walk away. Sounded pretty good on paper.
Sure did. But only about 75,000 people took it.
Yeah, that's barely 3% of the whole federal workforce. They were aiming for way more, weren't they?
Oh, at least double. Maybe even triple that.
Yeah.
Ambitious, for sure.
So what do you think happened? Were people just loyal, like dedicated to public service, especially with things being so uncertain right now?
I think that's part of it, yeah. Imagine you spent your career, doing this work, you believe in it. Then suddenly it's like, here's cash, go away. Might feel like a slap in the face, right? Especially for folks in national security, public health, where they're really needed.
And practically speaking, it's still a risk. Ditching a stable job, even with a payout when the economy's all over the place.
Exactly. And don't forget, for some people, their job is tied up with who they are. Walking away, that's tough.
So buyouts didn't really work. Which brings us to round two. Mass firings. Thousands of probationary employees gone across tons of agencies. Quick explainer here. Probationary in this case. What does that even mean?
Basically, they're newer hires, usually been there less than a year. They haven't built up those job protections that career employees get. It's like a really long trial period.
So easier to let go, legally speaking, but that kind of feels iffy, doesn't it? Like, is it really just about job performance, or could this be used to get rid of people for other reasons?
Oh, that's a big concern. People are saying this is going to scare talented folks away from government work. Like, who wants to risk that?
So where are these firings hitting hardest?
Well, the VA, Veterans Affairs, over 1,000 probationary employees gone.
And the U.S. Forest Service is losing almost 10% of their people. That's like 3,400 employees. Although they did say firefighters, law enforcement, bridge inspectors, meteorologists, those folks were safe.
Interesting, right. Even when you're shrinking the government, some jobs are just too important. Streamlining, sure, but got to be smart about it.
Not just cutting for the sake of cutting. What about other agencies? Where are we seeing big numbers?
CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, about 1,300 probationary workers. That's also around 10% of their workforce. The Department of the Interior lost at least 2,300 people, something like 4% of their total.
And then there's the EPA, the Department of Energy, Education, the Small Business Administration. We're talking hundreds, even thousands gone from all over.
Yeah, it's a big effort, no doubt. And people are arguing about it, big time. Some say it's about time the government got smaller, that it'll make things better for everyone. Others, well, they're really worried about the environment, national security, all kinds of things.
Feels like there are two totally different stories being told here. The administration says these firings are about efficiency, making things run better, ultimately helping the American people.
Right, like the Office of Personnel Management, the OPM. Their take is that probationary period, it's not a guarantee, it's more like an extension of the job application.
And VA Secretary Doug Collins, he said it was tough, but the right choice to, quote, better support the veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors the VA is there for.
But a lot of folks push back on that hard. They say this isn't about efficiency, it's about politics, getting rid of anyone hired by the last administration.
The American Federation of Government Employees, the AFGE, that's the biggest union for federal workers, they're pretty upset. Their president, Everett Kelly, he's calling it a firing spree and says people are losing jobs because of when they were hired, not how they're performing.
And you've got conservation groups really worried about the environmental impact. Like Taylor McKinnon from the Center for Biological Diversity, he's saying this will mess up national parks and put endangered species at risk, calling it cruel and clumsy.
So, two sides of the coin. People losing jobs, strong opinions everywhere. But there's something else in this mix that's got me curious. The tech angle. Specifically, Elon Musk.
Ah, yeah. Tech guy takes on the government. Yeah, that's
It
interesting.
doesn't happen every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk, king of disruption, suddenly he's in charge of government efficiency, working for President Trump. And he's made it clear he's got big plans to fix things.
And those plans, they're all about tech. Musk thinks government is slow, clunky, outdated, ripe for a shake-up, Silicon Valley style, faster, leaner, more automated.
I mean, he literally said we should delete entire agencies instead of just trimming them down, like get rid of the roots so they can't grow back.
Pretty extreme, right? He's not messing around. And it seems like the president's on board. Trump himself talked about shutting down the Department of Education, called it a con job.
So how do these firings fit into all this tech talk? Is this just step one, clear everyone out, then automate everything?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like it, yeah. Musk probably sees this leaner workforce as the starting point. Less people, less to automate, like wiping the slate clean before he starts building his digital government.
Bold move. But there's got to be both good and bad that could come from that, right? Like, sure, maybe things get faster, cheaper for taxpayers. Imagine filing your taxes online in like 5 minutes. No more waiting on hold forever.
Right, that's the dream. But there are definitely downsides. What about all the people who lose their jobs? What happens to them?
Yeah, that's happening all over, not just government. Automation, it's changing everything.
It is. And it's not just how many jobs go away, but what kinds. Those middle-class jobs with decent skills, they're the ones disappearing. Either you end up with a low-paying service job or you got to be some high-tech expert.
So it's more than just, did we make the government faster? It's about what that does to society, you know?
Yeah.
Could make things even more unequal. And what about folks who don't even have good internet or don't know how to use computers and stuff? They get left behind.
Exactly. This it can't just be for the privileged few, it's got to be for everyone, which means figuring out the internet access problem, making sure people can afford it, teaching them how to use it, big challenges.
It all comes back to that idea that tech is a tool. It can be good or bad, depends how we use it. We got to make sure it helps people, all people, not just makes things worse.
Couldn't agree more. And we need to be talking about this now. Before all this stuff is set in stone, before it's too late to change course.
All right, so we've got these firings, the political back and forth, this tech vision for the future. But let's take a wider view here. This all points to a much bigger question. What's the point of government anyway? Especially in times like these.
You're right. It's a question that's always been around, but it feels more relevant now than ever.
Right. On one side, you got people saying, keep it small. Just focus on the basics. Defense, security, roads, that kind of stuff. Less government, more freedom.
And then there's the folks saying, no, government needs to do more. Invest in people, in education, healthcare, the environment. It's got to protect its citizens, fix the problems that companies won't.
Classic debate. And this whole situation with the firings, with Musk being involved, it's forcing us to choose a side. What do we want from our government? How much should it be doing? And when it gets smaller, who loses out?
No easy answers there. It's finding that sweet spot, that balance. And what's balanced might change over time as things change.
This isn't just some abstract debate either. These are real people, real lives being affected, their jobs, their families, what they believe in. It's all tied up in this.
Absolutely. And it's not just those who got fired. It's their communities, the whole economy. Think about those scientists at the CDC trying to stop the next pandemic. Park rangers protecting our national parks. Social workers helping families who are struggling. Those are the people who make things work, and now they're gone.
It's a reminder that all this political stuff, it has real consequences. We can't forget that. But there's that tech angle again. Musk is leading this charge, and he's all about tech changing everything. Using AI to do people's jobs, making the government faster, putting everything online.
Yeah, the promise is there, right? Easier to do with the government, less hassle. But then you worry about what happens to our data. Do these algorithms actually work fairly? What happens when we depend on tech too much? What if it goes wrong?
Those are big questions. And the answers, they matter. We all need to be thinking about this. Regular people, the politicians, the tech folks. This is serious stuff. Can't just ignore it.
I agree. We're at a turning point here. The choices we make now, they'll have a ripple effect. It's about the future of our government, the future of our country even.
So for all you folks listening, what does this all mean for you? What should you be thinking about as you sort through all this?
Well, the big thing is you're not just a bystander. This is your government. Stay informed, talk to your representatives, speak up. These decisions, they affect everyone. Make sure they're made the right way for the right reasons, that they don't hurt people in the process.
That's a good point to remember. We can't just sit back and watch. We all have a part to play in this. Yeah, that's a good takeaway. Lots to think about. We've gone over a lot today, the firings, the politics, the whole tech side of things. But it feels like we're still in the middle of this, What happens next? Who knows?
It's true. Government, it's changing fast these days. And the decisions being made now, they'll have a big impact down the line.
Before we wrap up, though, I always like to get your final thoughts. Like, if you had to leave folks with one question to really chew on, what would it be?
That's a good one. I think I'd ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so tech is changing how we live, how we work, faster than ever before. So knowing that, what should the role of government be in this new world?
Ooh, that's a deep one. Really gets to the heart of it.
Right. It's not just what government is doing now, but what it should be doing. Like, what problems can government solve that nobody else can? And when does it have to step back? Well, everything's so complicated these days. Where do the lines get drawn? Those are the things we need to figure out.
Lots to ponder there, for sure. Well, folks, that's about all the time we've got for this deep dive. But keep digging into this stuff. Ask your own questions. Keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. That's what makes a democracy work, right? People being informed, being involved. Stay curious, stay engaged, and don't be afraid to think for yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, that's a wrap for us. Until next time, keep exploring.